out there, and welcome to the Sports Greeks podcast. This is your host, Victor Logothetis. It's episode number 19 here, and that's our road trip Tuesday for the Sports Greek going down to Baltimore. We're going to go ahead and see the Fighting Phils take on the Baltimore Orioles. So let's get the business stuff out of the way. This will be a slightly quicker program than normal. The Twitter handle is @BigGreek24. Email address is victorlogo13@gmail.com. You can find us where we're contributing to the sports blogs, which is allpronation.com, as well as phillysportsblogs.com. And the show's also available through the APN Radio Network, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcast from. And also don't forget our Facebook page, which is just simply the Sports Greek. So before we get the show underway, an apology to Albert Pujols of the Angels. I missed the commemorating the 3,000th hit, which he got on May 4th, the day before my birthday. So congratulations to future Hall of Famer, current LA Angel Albert Pujols on that achievement. Fourth player in Major League history to have 3,000 hits and 600 home runs. So congratulations to Albert Pujols. So a week ago we were still thinking maybe the 76ers might have a shot in the basketball realm of things. That didn't quite work out that way. They did win the home game. Then they went up and gave everything they had. Lost in Boston again, making some key mistakes at the end of the game. And I know that the local media was very disappointed. Some of it, I'm sure, is for ratings, trying to get the masses all stirred up over what was really a season that exceeded expectations. A team that everybody thought was going to win 40-some games, won 52. A team that everybody hoped would make the playoffs as a 6th, 7th, or 8th seed, got in as a 3 seed, won a playoff round with their two best players having no playoff experience, in Embiid and Simmons. And then now that they're out, everybody wants to fry the head coach. Everybody wants to fry the general manager. They want to blame Ben Simmons. They want to blame the peanut vendors and the beer vendors and the ticket takers because the Sixers got knocked out. Were the Sixers the better team on paper? Yeah, they were. They were. The Celtics were certainly slightly undermanned, but their guys, like the Eagles, next man up mentality. And those players came up and played great. They played above their season averages, and they played above their norms. It happens. That's why they play the games, ladies and gentlemen. The best team on paper doesn't always win. And then all the Celtics did in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals was blow out LeBron James and the Cavs, 108-83. So a quick word about the Sixers. Am I disappointed? Sure. Who wouldn't be disappointed? You thought maybe they had a shot to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe even get into the NBA Finals. But, the Sixers lacked experience. Their best two players don't have any playoff experience. Brett Brown certainly sat for years on the bench in San Antonio and certainly watched Popovich coach the team and get it through titles and through the playoffs. But it's a little different when you're the man in charge. When you're the guy in the moment, things change and things are different. You may not do the same things that the guy you watched or worked under did. You're going to do things the way you think that they should be done. Did the coach make some mistakes? Yeah, certainly he did. But he's not the one. He wasn't the one that in Saric's case tried to back up into a smart down low and lose the basketball. He wasn't the one making bad 3-point shots. He didn't miss the wide open 3 that Redick missed that could have extended the Sixers' lead, I think, to either 5 or 6 late in the game. He wasn't making bad inbound passes or bad cross-court passes. That's not his fault. It's the player's fault. Does he coach the players? Absolutely he does. Once they take the court, there's not much more he can do about it. And the calling the timeout stuff, should he call the timeout during the big run, Game 2? Probably. Probably, if nothing else, just to kind of settle everybody down a little bit. But he didn't. He didn't, and he still had a chance to win that game. And they should have won Game 3. And they should have won, probably should have won Game 5 too. But they didn't. And to say now that this team was mediocre and some of the other adjectives I've heard thrown around is just absolute garbage. This was the most fun the city's had watching basketball since Iverson got the team to the finals against the Lakers the 2000-2001 season. So I think people need to understand that. Calm down. This team's only going to get better. And just live with that. Live with the fact that maybe you just happen to get beat by a hot team that may not be better than you, but played better than you did. And to just throw the whole season away because of one lousy playoff series is a huge mistake. This team ran off 16 at the end of the season. They won 52 games. They're the 3 seed. It was a great year for the 76ers. So while I'm nestling into my seat down in Camden Yards tonight to watch the Philadelphia Phillies and the very underwhelming Baltimore Orioles tonight, the Yankees are traveling down to D.C. to take on the Nationals at Nationals Park, two of the hottest teams in baseball right now. The Nats are 12 out of their last 14, and the Yankees 19 out of their last 22 to overtake the AL East over Boston. Unbelievable run the Yankees are on. The Nationals 12-2 in their last 14, and they're still without some of their best player. Eaton is still out, and he may be out for quite a while. Daniel Murphy's not back yet. They got Rendon back about a week to 10 days ago. But tonight it's a Tanaka Tuesday down in D.C. Tanaka goes for the Yanks. Gio Gonzalez is going to go for the Nationals. The pitching matchup for the second game. As soon as I find it, and this always happens. As soon as I need it, I can't find it. It's just the way it always tends to work. Okay, the Wednesday game tomorrow night is going to be CC Sabathia against Max Scherzer. That's tomorrow night's game, and then a little interleague action going on. Scherzer and Sabathia tomorrow night, and tonight it's Tanaka and Gio. So that's going to be a marquee matchup to watch. That's the matchup of the week, boys and girls. So I'll be down at Camden Yards. The Yankees will be down at in the National Stadium. If you happen to catch this podcast before first pitch tonight, I'll be on Twitter tweeting out where I'm at. If anybody wants to come over and say hello, please feel free to do so. So I was watching a baseball game the other day, and Ben Zobrist of the Cubs was up, and the announcers that say he got a letter from Major League Baseball. Did not know this. The Major League Baseball rules cite on your footwear that on your shoes, 51% of the colors must match your team colors. Well, Zobrist wears all black shoes, which evidently is a violation. I didn't know that. I figured, as the announcers also figured, black should be in style no matter what. That should just be one of those things, like white. White goes with everything. But evidently he's in violation by wearing the black shoes, and they're kind of throwback shoes. And I just think bad job on Major League Baseball. Why, it's a stupid rule. Why, the guy's not wearing fuchsia, with purple highlights on the damn shoes. He's wearing black shoes, which go with the uniform. So bad job by Major League Baseball there. I think they need to change that rule, or at least just include black. Call it the Zobrist rule. We've already got the Posey rule. We've got the Utley rule for sliding. Now we can have the Ben Zobrist footwear rule to go with all that. So I thought that was a bad job on Major League Baseball there. James Paxton tossed a no-hitter last week for the Seattle Mariners, first Canadian-born player, sorry about that, to throw a no-hitter. He threw it against Toronto since, I believe, 1945. And Francisco Lindor, he and Lindor were the co-AL players of the week. Lindor only had a 7-for-8 run at the end of the weekend. It was 4-for-4 on Saturday with 2 homers and 2 doubles. Shipped in another double on Sunday, so he's actually been player of the week and co-player of the week now 2 weeks in a row. So Francisco Lindor of the Indians is unbelievably hot. Hats off to James Paxton for tossing that no-hitter. I believe it was the 6th no-hitter in the history of the Seattle Mariners franchise. And yet another star player hits the disabled list. Robinson Cano, former Yankee, current Mariner, broke, I believe, a finger on his hand or a bone in his hand, got hit by a pitch. He's on the DL. We'll see how long he's out for. That's a crusher for the Seattle Mariners. Now, another big crusher is for the Phillies. They end up losing 2 games, one Sunday against the Nats in a series they actually could have won last week, and then they go and lose a Friday night game against the Mets that they led 1-0. Jake Arrieta pitched probably the best game he's pitched as a Philly. And 1-0, they're up in the 9th, a single to Flores. Conforto hits a ball way out of the ballpark, hit the upper facing of the upper deck to give him a 2-1 lead. And then newly acquired Devin Mesoraco follows suit with a long home run to left field. 3-1 ball game. Familia comes in and does what he's supposed to do. But Sunday before that, Neris, I think, walked the bases loaded, just completely didn't have it. I actually saw the Phillies Nationals on May 5th. Neris didn't look too good that day either. But Neris is not a closer, and for the Phillies to think he was is a mistake. He's a middle reliever. He's a late inning setup guy. That's what he does. The mentality of a closer is different than that of a setup guy. And I said, they threw all this money at Arrieta, they threw all this money at Santana, which is fine. Why didn't they go out and throw out some money to go get a closer, a reliable closer, a guy that's actually has a track record as a closer? And it's things like this, plus uncertainty that I've mentioned before, are reasons why I do not think the Phillies are a playoff contender. It's miscasting a reliever in a closer role and not going and getting a real closer. It's having a lot of players on your roster who are untested, who are question marks. And, we'll go down the list. It's Alfaro behind the plate. It's Hoskins in left field. Can he hold out for a whole year playing a new position? J.P. Crawford currently is injured. as your shortstop. Now you've got a guy in Kinger who's playing shortstop, who's really a second baseman, who's now playing shortstop regularly, who hasn't played, probably now has played more shortstop in the major leagues than, admittedly he's played since probably high school. So you got him playing out of position. You don't know what Altier is going to give you for a full season if he can stay healthy. And you got Nick Williams, who had a nice tryout last year for a few hundred at-bats. And you don't know what he's going to give you over the course of a full season. And outside of Arrieta and Aaron Nola, you don't know what you have on your pitching staff. You don't know what these guys are going to give you from day to day. Hopefully they get Jared Eichhoff back here soon. If he's the Jared Eichhoff of 2 years ago, now you've got 3 reliable pitchers. But Neshek isn't coming back anytime soon, it appears. He's still injured. So the strength of the team, which was thought to be the bullpen, is actually let the Phillies down. When you're a game and a half out of first place, and they are right now behind the Braves, you need every win you can get. Although the Nationals are charging, like I said before, they're 12-2. I still believe they're going to win this division going away. And I tell you, hats off to manager Davey Martinez down in Washington, because brand new manager. It's not an easy place to manage down there. They get rid of managers even after they win, as Dusty Baker found out. Matt Williams got canned before him. Davey Johnson before that, and these guys, at least had a year where they won. But he's doing a great job down there navigating through the injuries. Eaton's hurt again. He didn't have Rendon for a stretch. Hasn't had Daniel Murphy yet to come out. Zimmerman's on the disabled list now. They call up Mark Reynolds. All he does is hit 2 home runs in his debut. Don't think the Rockies could use him right now, given the lack of production they've got at first base, with Ian Desmond hitting about $170 right now. But give a lot of credit to Davey Martinez, navigating through all that in a high-pressure spot, a lot of expectation down in D.C., as there has been now for the past 6 years, that they are a favorite to win the National League and go to a World Series, even though they've yet to win a playoff series in any of the years that they've gotten through. So, hats off to, Davey Martinez. Great job. He was a good player, too. Smart player, solid defensive outfielder, could hit. And now he's showing that he's able to navigate through these injury problems. And some other news around the Yankees that just came through. It looks like Clint Frazier is going to get called up by the Yankees, so they have an extra position player when they take on the Nationals for this 2-game interleague set. So it'll be interesting to see how much playing time he gets over those 2 games. Highly touted prospect. Other things that have happened over the past since the last show. Matt Harvey found a new home. The Mets were able to find a taker. The Reds took Matt Harvey, and actually Harvey pitched last Friday night, went 4 innings. I believe gave up 1 hit and didn't walk anybody. So I actually had a good debut for the Reds out in L.A. The Mets got catcher Devin Mesoraco from the Reds. Mesoraco at one time was their starter, but has not been the last few years due to injuries and also the emergence of Gold Glove catcher Tucker Barnhart. So Mesoraco to the Mets fills a gaping hole there for the Mets, who are not in a free fall but pretty damn close. They need to get back on the beam after a 12-2 start. They just have not been hitting at all. Sans the 9th inning comeback against the Phillies. They have not been hitting very well at all, to be honest with you. So, Mickey Callaway needs to go back to pushing the magic buttons, I suppose. Looks like DJ LeMahieu's designated DL, rather, for Colorado. Looks like Madison Bumgarner will be back in the next few weeks for the Giants. Now give them a huge shot in the arm. Speaking of that division, also, the Diamondbacks, who at one time were 21-8. And I think I said last week I don't know how they were doing that. They got swept over the weekend by the Nats. They're in a 3-9 free fall. I believe they have lost 6 in a row. So they're now at 24-17, still clinging to the top of the National League West. We'll see how much longer that stronghold is there for them. The Braves called up Jose Bautista. He's their third baseman at this point. Hit a go-ahead home run against the Cubs on Monday. I got to see that game. So he's back in the bigs playing third base now, not the outfield for the Atlanta Braves, who are currently in first place. So you're going through. The Braves are in first place, game and a half over the Phillies, 2 games over the Nats. The Brewers are top the Central. The Cardinals and Pirates are both a game out. The Cubs 2 games out. That's going to be a fun division to watch the rest of the year. Colorado's within a game and a half of Arizona. The Giants are within 3.5. The Dodgers still not in the picture. They're 7.5 out. Again, 3/4 of their infield is injured at this point. They just lost Kershaw for a DL stint as well. The Yankees have overtaken the Red Sox that nice 19-3 run. So the Red Sox are a half a game out. They're going to go back and forth the rest of the year. I still think the Red Sox are the team that will win that division. They've taken the Yankees' best shot. The Yankees are not going to stay this hot as the weather gets warmer. Now the Red Sox have had their downturn. Let's see what happens when this winning streak for the Yankees finally ends. But the Yankees are on a 2-game winning streak, 8-2 in their last 10, 19 out of their last 22. Toronto is a distant third at 7.5 games out. The American League Central. Oh boy, the Indians are 20-20 and they lead the division over the Twins at a game and a half back. The Indians are going to win that division. I have no doubt about that. L.A. and Houston are in a almost a flat-footed tie. The Angels are percentage points ahead of the Astros, and they were playing each other. So, again, see how that series works out. I still think the Astros are going to win that division. I think for the Angels, they can just hang with the Astros all year, stay close, and then maybe just settle back into that wild card spot. That'd be the best thing for them. But don't count the Mariners out either. They're a game and a half out. We'll see how they play without Cano. That's going to be a huge hole for them to fill, both offensively and defensively. So, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for this week. Like I said, it's going to be a bit of a shorter show than normal. We're headed on down to Camden Yards tonight. It's recording this on Tuesday. Headed down to Camden Yards to see the Philadelphia Phillies take on the Baltimore Orioles. I believe it's Nick Pivetta for the Phillies against Andrew Kashner for the Baltimore Orioles. So we'll be on Twitter putting out some stuff. I'm going to buy tickets right at the ticket window, so I don't know where I'm sitting yet, but we're going to take a ride. It's a beautiful day for baseball. 75, 76 degrees. Last I checked, supposed to hit in the upper 80s. It's going to be a fun drive down. I expect it to be a fun night of baseball. I love going down to Camden Yards. Great place to play. The fans are outstanding. Great place to watch a ball game. I meant to say not great place to play. I'm certainly not playing tonight. Fans down there are fantastic. Good to talk to. Good to interact with. I think it's just going to be a lot of fun. So everybody have a great rest of your sports week, whatever you're into watching at this point. Yankees-Nationals is the matchup of the week, although it's only a 2-game set. That's a Tanaka Tuesday down in Nationals Park in D.C. And then Max Scherzer will be pitching tomorrow for the D.C. Nationals, so that'll be a interesting 2-game set. So we'll wrap it up now. Thanks again for downloading, whether you got us through the APN Radio Network, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio, or anywhere else where you're getting your podcasts. Thank you very much for listening. And don't forget to check out the contributions on both the allpronation.com and phillysportsblogs.com. Have a great week, everybody. We'll do it again next week.